Yes. It's the Rum Shot Diaries, Season 1, Episode 6. The band is back together. Ladies and gentlemen, West Indies are top of the World Test Championship. We just concluded yesterday, 24 hours ago, a truly iconic test match at Sabina Park. West Indies winning by 1 wicket. And as we've gone live on air, India have just pulled off an iconic victory against England. And I know Nikhil was locked in for that, Santoki. We were all locked in for that, which is why we started a bit late here, just kind of processing what happened in that test match as well. But despite India winning that, it was not good enough for them to go top of the World Test Championship, Santoki. What are you saying?
Listen. People were saying, listen, where's Santoki? I told Mash, I'll come back on the show when West Indies are the greatest test side in the world again. And we've done it. We're top of the table, so I had to come back.
100. Santoki's so excited, he's frozen. Santoki, you're frozen, but I'm going to kill. While Santoki like busts up his internet because he's so excited. so Nikhil, while Santoki sorts himself out, what you say, Nikhil? Talk us through Nikhil, ever since for those who are new to watching Caribbean Cricket Podcasts, before we went on there, Nikhil, myself, and Santoki were just talking about how this journey that the three of us have been on together, both on these platforms, Nikhil off these platforms on his own individual journey. Like, it's been mad what's gone on over the last year and a half. But the one thing that's always been consistent with Nikhil from the day we met him is that he has been the most positive West Indian supporter I've ever met in my life. So, Nikhil, you go first. That must have felt good yesterday.
Yeah, for sure, Mash. First of all, thanks so much, guys, for having me. Great to be back, as always, on the CCP. No, really, it was fitting, that victory, especially to be done by sort of my generation, the younger generation. Jayden Seales playing a big part in that. But just every way that the West Indies went about that victory, in the sense that, yes, many will say application should have been a bit more in the second innings, but the fact that we were able to ride it out, we always had that fear. 2017, Pakistan, West Indies flashed in my head so much. I was just waiting for Yasir Shah to bowl, the final over and get the wicket. But this time, we finally came out on top. And I think we deserve it personally, because I think really and truly, it's been a tough year, but I also think it's been a year of progression. Obviously, starting in Bangladesh, where we pulled off the emphatic victory series win away from home. Then we came back to the Caribbean and we had to learn a bit, against Sri Lanka. That series drew, but against South Africa, we lost badly. And I was really happy to see the way, I really see an improvement in not only the batting, guys like Craig Brathwaite, Jermaine Blackwood putting up their hand, Roston Chase coming back into the team, but then also with the ball in hand. Our bowlers have been superb all through the year, but to have a young revelation like Jayden Seales come into the team, fill the boots of Shannon Gabriel, which is never easy to do given his stature and what he's been able to achieve at the test level. But just to see the way they went about it as a team, as a unit, I was really pleased. And yes, we had all the controversy before the game or even during the game about selection, about the toss, etc. But it just goes to show, when you have that heart, when you have that fight. Yes, Jamel Warrican didn't feature as much as people think with the ball. He still had a role to play, and we still were able to pull off the victory. And against Pakistan, I keep saying, this is not an easy team to beat. This is a team that goes to England, has beaten them, goes to Australia, has challenged them as well. So this is a quality unit, and I think this win should be not overlooked and it should be taken for what it is.
Thanks, Nikhil. And we're gonna try and break it down and go into the little nooks and crannies of what similar to that India-England game. It was a test match it was a seesaw. There was total ebb and flow throughout the 4 days, I should say. But Santoki, I'm going to come to you because first things first, we should really say the following. So you see here, Santoki, how contact says finally Santoki has returned. That's like a rock shout out there. But this one as well, Santoki. I'm gonna say this one, Santoki. Our good friend Sheikh saying, welcome back, Santoki. Congratulations. And what I want to know, Santoki, is what felt better? Getting married or that West Indies?
Listen, let me check who else is in the room. Yeah. But no, just thank you anyone for everyone saying congratulations. But just echoing what Nikhil said, I think yesterday, you know what, Mash? It was going to script. It looked like Pakistan were going to do it. They were riled up. They had the energy levels. So for West Indies to dig in, show some character, get the win, an iconic win, as you said, take us to the top of the World Test Championship. It's a good feeling, Mash. We got to savor this moment.
Yeah, we really do. And I'm actually going to admit, Santoki and I were texting each other last night. Honest to God, when Josh... So how many runs did we... When Jason got out, I think we still needed... I swear we needed plus. 54. It was 50. Yeah. It was 50 plus at least. And I think we went to team, right?
Yeah.
And I won't lie. I think I was rallying, but I'd kind of given up. I was just rallying all the same because that's what we have to do. And when I think Josh got out when about 26 was needed, something like that. And when Jayden came to the wicket, I think there was 17 needed, maybe. At that point, Santoki, I was pacing up and down and I was sweating. Yeah. I don't know about you two, but I was legit sweating. And I was standing in my room I was standing in the living room thinking, why am I so hot? And then it was only afterwards I was like, it's because I was panicking for the whole thing.
No, literally, I was the same, man. It was complete. You know, knowing even though we're used to West Indies crumbling, they gave us the hope. Then they took it away. Then they dangled it in front of us. It was an emotional roller coaster. But I think as well, Kemar Roach and Jayden Seales, man, need to take a bow, because if we saw today, pretty much exact same situation. Josh Buttler, the equivalent of Josh De Silva, once he got out, England crumbled. They collapsed within a few overs, whereas Seales and Roach dug in. Warwick hung around for a few balls, and it was a complete unexpected victory in terms of that, because I'd assumed once Josh De Silva had gone, we would crumble. They proved me wrong. It was a teacher, mentor, student relationship between Seales and Roach as well came out as well, both with the ball in the bat. So yeah, very positive. But I know on Twitter we've been going on about being the best test side in the world, but realistically it was a very, very close test, and I'm expecting Pakistan to come back firing on Friday in the second test match.
Yeah, and I mean, let's leave looking at the second test till the very, very end. But what does concern me, and I'll briefly hint at it now, what does concern me is the Jamaican curators had said it was going to be a results pitch. That's the word that I'd got out from Jamaica before the test had started. My worry is how is the deck? Obviously, it's going to be a different deck, but still, how is it going to play? With another test match only 3 days away, we could see another set of low scores and a pitch basically deteriorating by day 4 as well. But we can get into that. First things first, let's try and run through this test in some kind of order and structure. First things first I want to touch on was the selection. Nikhil, that selection must have broken your heart. Pure Bayesians out of the side. But the first selection I want to go to is Warwican, because there is none of us who could have seen that selection coming. He wasn't in my team. The team that got picked I had that team except Warwican. I had Joseph in instead of Warwican. And as you said at the top, Nikhil, he barely bowled. Didn't really get any runs, although he did still play. He got a crucial 4 when he came in that second innings before he got out. I'm not, okay, devil's advocate. I'm not as critical about the Warwican selection as some have been, because my issue before the selection was that our attack was going to look too samey if Alzari Joseph played, and we didn't know how the track was going to play. So I could understand why they might have gone for a left arm spinner just to add some kind of variation to our attack. And the only thing I'll say as well, before I hand to you two to dissect it, is Yasir Shah was ineffective as well. So I don't think it's about Jamel Warwican specifically, because Yasir wasn't really doing anything either. So if we're criticizing the selection of Warwican, don't you then on one hand have to criticize Pakistan? Obviously, it's Yasir Shah. Of course, going to pick Yasir Shah. But what I mean is that didn't work out for them either. Off you go, chaps.
Yeah, I think... Yeah. Basically, I think this game of Test cricket is one that's very, it's obviously very tedious and sometimes it can be very difficult to criticize. For example, I'll give you a perfect example. Craig Brathwaite won the toss, elected to bowl, and here came all the complaints. Even though Babar Azam, the Pakistan captain, said he would have bowled as well. And so in the end, it worked for the West Indies. Craig knew exactly what he was doing, but obviously we are so fast to jump and criticize. The way I see the Jamal Warrican saga playing out is that, yes, I think they selected him exactly for that match, trying to bring that variation into the attack. However, Pakistan do have a lot of left-handers, which sort of limited him from being effective and bowling through those middle overs when Roston Chase was on. But at the end of the day, it's Test cricket, and I can't fault. Yes, I know it's hindsight and the West Indies ended up winning, but I can't fault the administration for trying to go the direction of Warrican, changing things up. Even though, yes, it didn't work out in the game, at least you still had that option. So for me, it would have been great to see another batter in there or maybe another fast bowler, but I can understand. As you said, I can't criticize them for selecting Warrican because I think I definitely saw what they were going at. And as you said, even on the other end of things, Pakistan didn't bowl much spin either. So it wasn't to say, the surface was spinning and he just wasn't bowled. I just don't think it worked out for the spin in this test match.
What are you saying, Santoki?
Yeah, no, firstly, what Nikhil said, hindsight's a wonderful thing. So obviously we won the test match, so the Warrican issue isn't as big as it could have been. Realistically, looking at it, he bowled 8 overs across the 2 innings and he can't bat. So you're looking at selection-wise, I think a big reason as well is there's no other pacer who sort of stood out, who warranted a place in the side. I don't think they trust Alzari yet to put him in. They left him out of the South Africa series. Shamal Holder's coming off an injury, so maybe he wasn't fully 100%. So I think they went for that diversity in bowling, but partly because their hand was forced as well by lack of alternative options at this point in time.
And then if we look at everyone else, kind of, I know ESPN somehow said that, who was it, Santoki, that Brooks was going to play instead of Mayers? I don't know where they got, I don't know where that came from. But the only other selection that was the debatable selection was who was going to open. Was it going to be Kieran Powell or was it going to be Shea Hope? Now, again, hindsight is a wonderful thing because I think a lot of people now are going to say, well, Powell got a duck, he got a 4. This isn't my attempt to defend Powell. Everything we talk about, I'm going to present the devil's advocate argument. Powell's dismissal in the second innings, I thought, was unlucky because Gregory Brathwaite and Joe Wilson were doing a madness in that test match. And love up my Caribbean people, but there were times in that test match where I think Greg and Joel were just guessing decisions. Now, Powell's dismissal in that second innings was clipping the leg stump barely. Now, if Gregory Brathwaite had given that not out on the field, it would have stayed not out because it went to umpire's call. So in some senses, Powell can say, I got a rough one there. I'm not saying that means he should stay in the side. But what will be interesting will be if the selectors think, well, he got a good ball first innings, duck, rough one second innings, 4. Do they persist with him? Or do they say, bring Shea back in? And I think they've messed up with this Shea thing slightly because Santoki, you had Shea Hope in your side. Nikhil, I know you had Shea in, and I picked Powell. And the only reason I picked Powell was because I was like, surely they're going to pick the actual test match, the person whose job it is to open. But when Shea got reselected to come back into the West Indies side, it was because he was opening in those best versus best games and against Sri Lanka in that tour match, etc. So they've sent a bit of a muddled message here by dropping Shea when surely he was coming back to open. So that's me presenting the arguments. Nikhil, what are you saying?
I think it's a really tricky one because, as you said, Mash, they'll want to play the out-and-out test opener. And the fact is that Kieran Powell did score 50 in the last test match. So there was definitely merit for his place. I just think when Shea Hope was originally brought into the team, he was brought in as an opener in his return to test cricket. Yes, it may not have exactly worked how we want it as yet. But I just think, give it some time. I'm not sure how Shea Hope necessarily feels about opening the batting and how the West Indies coaching staff and the captain feel about it as well. But, I mean, Shea Hope only didn't open in that game because, they had the concussion substitute come in and that was Kieran Powell. So, obviously, he being the natural opener, he went to open. But looking at it now, I would personally give Shea Hope that opportunity at the top of the order. I think, yes, it's a bit harsh on Powell based on the fact that he's only had 2 innings since that 50, but I just think if you go based on originality and how the selectors picked that team against South Africa, Shea Hope was at the top of the order. So I think if it was up to me, I would have Shea Hope at the top with Craig Brathwaite and sort of filter down from there. But it will be interesting to see the direction that they go in the second test. I'm sure Santoki will say, you know, on the great show during China Paul's birthday that maybe he should come back.
But no, I think Powell will play purely because I don't think it's beneficial to either Powell or Hope to have them play one test each in the series. 2-test series, you've got to give someone 2 tests, so they should give Powell the second test. I was of the belief that Hope should have got a chance as opener instead of Powell, purely because, Mash, I know you tweeted out the averages. They've had similar averages, similar sort of career statistics, but I see more of an upside. He's younger. He seems to have a higher ceiling for potential. So I would have gone for Hope, but realistically, neither is in the greatest of form, and it's not ideal for West Indies that their only options at the moment are Powell or Hope when both are struggling. So what we've always said in previous episodes, it's going to largely depend on the domestic season. Whenever that resumes, who can put up the runs? We've got, well, I did say we were going to have a break, but it seems like we're touring Sri Lanka in October, November. So again, if there's going to be no domestic cricket before then. So how do we're basically stuck with the same pool of players. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with this whole Hope Powell situation.
And sorry, just to follow on that,
Santoki.
You see, Santoki made an extremely valid point there in terms of the domestic cricket, and that is why I think the selectors hold these best versus best games in such high esteem. Kyron Powell came back into the system, he got a 90 and he walked straight into the test team. So my calling is Shamar Brooks just scored 100 in that best v best game. When will he get his opportunity? I know it's a packed top order with Bonner, etc. Bonner, you have Mayers, you have Chase, all these guys fresh into test cricket. Roston Chase just returned. We need his bowling. Fine. But I think you need to create an opportunity. If you have no first class setup and no first class cricket, and you take these best v best games in such high esteem, a guy comes in and scores a big 100. When does he get his opportunity?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And even now, Nikhil, and again, we'll leave it till the end. I couldn't tell you how Brooks gets into the team for the second test, but your point is valid all the same. But this point from I don't know if I'm going to pronounce the name correctly, so apologies, Drew. But you've said stick with Powell for the second game. If Powell fails, it's easy to then drop him for the next series. If Hope fails, we are stuck in the middle with both the options failing, which is what I think you're getting at, Santoki.
Yeah.
I think because your whole thing is, Santoki, whoever you give, you've got to give them 2. And then that definitively tells you one way or the other what it is that you're actually doing. So if we just delve into elements of the match, so just getting my scorecard up. So in the first innings, obviously Pakistan were inserted first, bowled out for 217. Not really a whole lot to discuss there. The only real talking point I wanted to look at is the use of Kyle Mayers. Now, Kyle took 2 wickets in the match. He was very economical, and as we kind of said on the pod we did with Kyle Santoki, he's a bit of a golden arm. He gets wickets at crucial points in test matches. But my concern is this: probably due to the nature of the side that we picked, Kyle had to be the 4th bowler. Once it became apparent that Warrican wasn't basically going to be used, Kyle bowled I think 14 overs in that first innings. So my question basically is, how are we going to be using Kyle Mayers? How are we using him in this side? Because to me, he's primarily there to be a top order batsman. But once you start having someone bowling 14, 15 overs, you're kind of... Do you get what I'm trying to go with here? You're kind of not messing them about, but there's a question over their role in the side. Nikhil, touch on that one for me.
Yeah, and I think, Mash, that's why you probably saw Kyle Mayers bat at number 6 in this game, because of the workload that he had with the ball in hand. So I think, I've always said it, from the time Kyle Mayers made his, welcome into Test cricket, I always said his bowling will be pivotal, not only to the team, because he showed to me why he's so important, because of the fact that he was able to bowl. And I think he really supported the strike bowlers at the other end. He bowled really well in tandem with Jason Holder. And I think his ability to hold that line on that 4th stump and just tease the batsman, sort of frustrate things. When 2 batters are in the middle looking for runs, he has that ability. He's not the quickest, but he can just stay there consistently on that line and length. And I think that is something crucial. You look in this game where the West Indies went for the extra spinner. having a guy like Kyle Mears provides that option. Otherwise, you know, you only look and have 3 frontline bowlers and you can't, 3 frontline seamers, and you can't really play with that. So for me, I'm happy with the role to see Kyle Mears bowl a lot. And I think he, you know, once he continues to get his fitness back to where it was, obviously coming off of that injury, I think he's able to do it. Did it have an effect on his batting? I don't know. But what I will say is I think it's imperative that he has a role to play with the ball in hand for the West Indies so that we have that flexibility to play either an extra batsman, an extra spinner, or even maybe an extra fast bowler. But he gives you that versatility in your team.
Santoki, before you jump on this, I'm going to just show you both a set of comments because I noticed this yesterday on Twitter. Loads of people were saying this, and I haven't formulated my opinion on it yet. So, Contact saying push Kyle Mayers down to number 7 and let De Silva go ahead of him. Nutty is saying Kyle should be demoted down the order and De Silva and Holder should come up him, which would put Kyle Mayers at 8. I hasten to add. Chatil is saying put Kyle Mayers at 8. And De Silva at 6 and Holder at 7. Everyone is saying move Mayers down to 8. But then if you do that, Santoki, that means we're picking him as a bowler first and foremost. And that whole thing that Nikhil's talking about balancing out the side, it doesn't make sense to put Mayers down to 8 because he's not a frontline. Touch on it for me, Santoki.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because he's a batting all rounder. He said himself he's a batting all rounder. I think West Indies at the moment are using him as the go-to option because of his golden arm ability to break up sort of stubborn partnerships. But the problem is with the makeup of the West Indies side, you've got Blackwood and Mayers coming in together, and they both play sort of counter-attacking style of innings. And I'm not sure if that works because you could see them both fall quickly the way they play all or nothing. So I can see why people want De Silva to go ahead because De Silva at the moment almost playing like a Chanderpaul role. He's very good with the bat, very technical, but as soon as Holder's out, he has to protect the tail end basically. And you feel like he could do better if he's moved up. So I agree with you. I don't think Mayers should move down to 8, but 7 could be a possibility just because of the dynamic of the side. I don't think Blackwood and Mayers coming in together is going to work just because they're so similar in style. So at least if you've got De Silva in between who can kind of break it up, play a bit more defensively, it could balance the batting side up a bit better because at the moment we've seen the bat, even though we won yesterday, the batting was still very brittle.
So Chatil has come back and said, in fact, I'm going to show both his comments. So horses for courses, Mashal, in these conditions, that's the way to go. And I hear that. And then Chatil follows up with Mayers can bat higher up in conditions where ball doesn't move as much. So sorry, let me just hide these for a minute. I think, just thinking where I stand on this, the point that you lot in the chat are making about Mayers is the point that I've made about Roston Chase before. But I swear when I made this point about Chase, people said I was insane because I said that Chase should bat 8, right? But the reason I can see your face, Nikhil, but the reason I said Chase should bat 8 was because my whole thing was if you're in the top order, if you're in the top 6, you're there because you're supposed to make runs. You're not there because you're there. You're not there primarily to balance out the side. So if Chase is batting 4, for example, I'm looking for you to be making 50s plus. I'm not looking for you to balance out the side and say, go bowl some spin overs for me. Because if that's the case, you need to be like Moeen Ali and go bat 7 or 8 then. Because why are you in the side? You either primarily make me some runs, or if you're there to spin some 20 overs or something, go play at number 7 and let me put a proper batsman in. So I just wanted to say that to put into context why I'm finding it hard to hear what people are saying about Mayers, because I would make that exact same point about Chase. There is an issue with the construction of the order, the batting order of our side. I hear that, and I'm not sure what the full answers are. Before I move on, Nikhil, did you want to come back in on that, or are you good for me to move on?
Yeah, I just think it's quickly, Mash. I don't think it matters too much in the sense that, I mean, everybody's looking at this and saying, oh, Kyle Mayers failed twice, but it's just one game. Yes, I could understand sort of having Blackwood and Mayers together, but look at it the other way. If it was to come off, I mean, we would score 50 runs in maybe 12, 13 overs. So who's to say that 2 guys that bat with that free-flowing ability can't be at the crease together? Jos Buttler, Johnny Bairstow bat together, Rishabh Pant and Ravindra Jadeja bat next to each other. So I don't understand, why we have to say it. I mean, maybe for the balance, you could say break them up. But to the Roston Chase thing, I think he's too technically good to bat at 8, Mash. I think we need him at 4 where he is now. And I think he didn't get that 50, but those 2 20s he got were pivotal in both instances for the West Indies to win this game. No Bajan bias.
So then West Indies in their reply 253, and Santoki. Let's just give it to Nikhil. Let's just give it to him. Nikhil, I don't know if you saw the tweet I put up, but you know, Nikhil, how critical. I'm going to praise you, Nikhil, in fact. And I know he's also a good friend of yours, but that's irrelevant in this particular point here. You know that before the England tour, I was cussing Craig, saying he needs to get dropped. He needs to get dropped, to the point where I was saying that Craig should get dropped before John Campbell gets dropped. And you, to your credit, Nikhil, you kept saying to me, we have to stick with Craig. You cannot drop his level of experience. Even if he fails and fails and fails, we can't drop that level of experience. Now, since England, I think he averaged high 20s in England. He was poor in New Zealand, came back to form in Bangladesh, back to form versus Sri Lanka, poor one versus South Africa. But Nikhil, you see that 97, which should have been a century, but you see that 97? That was proper test match batting. Talk to me about Craig Brathwaite, Nikhil.
Yeah, Mash, I think, Craig Brathwaite, I'm really happy to see his sort of return to runs in these last two series. Obviously, getting that 100 against Sri Lanka was so important. And now this 97, it really burned my heart. I'm not going to lie, when he didn't get that 100, because I just think, he really deserved it. The grit that he batted with. And people need to understand that this is Shaheen Shah Afridi. This is Mohamed Abbas. These guys have come to the Caribbean and have wreaked havoc throughout, our team before. Mohamed Abbas has serious success in the Caribbean, and they did attack the stumps of Craig Brathwaite. They really challenged him, but just the persistence of this man, and this is why I think, he's probably one of the most technically sound batters in the region, because just that ability to concentrate for long periods of time. When you look around Test cricket, there are not a lot of players that can do that, and to fit the mold of just Test cricket, Cheteshwar Pujara, Craig Brathwaite, these are the names that come to mind. So when he does get runs, I feel extremely happy, and I also think the captaincy. For me personally, just observing the way Craig has gone about things since he's got this captaincy, I think it's done really well for him, because I think he has this added responsibility now as a leader. He wants to put his hand up from the beginning, and I think he really cherishes his wicket. Not to say that he didn't before, but just to see the application that he used at the crease, and you can tell he knows the importance. So some players, the captaincy sort of weighs down on them. For me, I think Craig, this captaincy has really elevated his game to another level, and I hope he can consistently get these performances. He does average, very high at home, so I don't not expect him to do well in home conditions. But no, he's just a fantastic player, and that 97 really was so crucial to the West Indies winning this game.
Before I come to you, Santoki, so Nutty says, I think captaincy has really made him more responsible. I remember many of his wickets before the captaincy, when he was out of form, I presume, was swiping outside off deliveries. Santoki, don't talk on Craig for me, because as I run down the order of that first innings, so Powell, duck, Nkrumah Bonner, golden duck, Kyle Mayers, golden duck, Chase, 21, and then gave it away with a mad shot. Blackwood, 22, gave it away with poor execution / mad shot. Forget all that for now. We won't get into that till we get to the second innings. Let's talk about Jason Holder, Santoki, because he came in. I can't even remember when he came in. It might have been, in fact, it was 100 for 5, I think, when Jason Holder came in. And he put on a partnership with Craig. Jason got 58. Now, I've got a very good friend of mine in Jamaica, went to school with him. Anyone who's Jamaican in here, Walmer's Boys School. So went to school with him in Jamaica. And he messaged me. We had a massive argument after the match yesterday. And he was like, Mash, who do you think is the best batsman in the West Indies side? And I said, Craig Brathwaite is. And he said, no way. I said, Craig Brathwaite's got the best temperament, test match temperament in the side. But I said, if you're asking me who's the best technically in our side, it's Jason Holder. What do you reckon, Santoki?
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Technically, it was a great innings, and I think it was very symbolic. The captain and the former captain, they both knew how important this innings was. They both were the only batsmen who placed a value on their wicket against what Nikhil said was world-class bowling from Abbas and Afridi. I think Holder as well took a lot of pressure off Brathwaite as well, because he was scoring relatively quickly as well, and it allowed Brathwaite to kind of play his natural game and not worry about take like what they say about Pujara being too slow. So it allowed Brathwaite to play his natural game, and it assisted the side overall. But yeah, no, very, very happy, and I agree with what you said. Holder, technically, I mean, even though he's the number one all-rounder, I think he still is as of now the Test all-rounder. He's still kind of underrated with the bat. People don't give him that much credit. Technically, he's world class, and he showed it against a very high quality Pakistan attack.
Yeah,
And
as
just
Sumit said, sorry, Nikhil, one sec. As Sumit said,
Sure.
I forgot about this, Santelki. I forgot that Josh said on the podcast that he said that when we asked him who's the best batsman, he said it's Jason. In terms of if he had to pick someone, best looking batsman in the side, although maybe meant that as in looks, I don't know. But Nikhil, what are you saying?
No, I fully agree with Santoki, and I think he made a really good point about Craig. I think when Craig Brathwaite gets in his stride, it fits our team so perfectly because we have players like Jason Holder, Jermaine Blackwood, Kyle Mills that score freely. So when you have someone at the other end able to dig in, I think our batting just comes together so well. Obviously, a lot is dependent on Craig, but what I'll say on Jason Holder is, I've really been wondering why is it that he always comes out, looks so good, and then just gets a good ball or, may play a rash shot, etc. But this innings, I think it had 100 written all over it. And I mean, he got an excellent delivery, don't get me wrong, but great to see his first return, to a half century in 6 innings because he was brilliant. He's been brilliant with the ball in hand, but I just felt, and I know it's tough because he has been contributing with the bat. I just know how good he is, and I know how much he wanted some more. So I hope he can build on this 58. But really, that 96-run partnership between him and Craig Brathwaite was exactly what we needed. And just to get first innings, it's not something that we do very often. To get first innings and get past that total with the lead, it just felt so refreshing, honestly.
Yeah, and to be honest, and that actually proved pivotal probably in the win because as we saw in the second innings, we wouldn't have chased anything much more than 168. Very briefly on Holder, just before anyone says it, and in fact, Sumit has just said it. He can't bat high. Well, no, let me rephrase that. Jason can bat higher, and he probably should bat higher, but he can't bat higher if we're also going to expect him to be a frontline bowler. And that's the reality of the situation. And this is why I wish Alzari Joseph's progress would be a bit quicker. Because if it did, we could play Alzari Joseph as a frontline seaman. It would allow Jason, and because Alzari can bat, it would allow Jason to go up the order. And all of these discussions about what does our top 6 look like, you would move Jason to 6, and that would fix some of the problems because Jason can easily bat in our top 6.
Yeah.
Before I move on, though, Santoki, I know you want to say something because as soon as I say this, Santoki, I'm waiting for some comments to say we're being biased. Josh De Silva, Santoki. Now, he got 21 in that first innings from 73 balls. Before people say we're being biased, because I know a lot of people think, oh, you're just friends with Josh, that's why you're going to say it. I actually think Josh is having to bat at 8, which basically means he's got to bat with the tail. So if he stays there, his average is going to go down. And I think people need to understand that you can't look at Josh's average now at the moment and go, well, it's 26, 25. Bringing hope is probably what people say. Bringing someone to wicket keep other than him. Because anybody being told to bat at 8 with the tail, how many runs are you truly going to make?
Yeah.
And I just think he's stuck in a bit, and he's stuck now because I get why he's at number 8, but I think we're probably going to put too high an expectation on him when he hasn't got that much rope to play with, Santoki.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we saw Chanderpaul do that role, and that's someone of Chanderpaul's quality kind of take that on. But for Josh De Silva, we know he's opened before in domestic cricket. He's a quality batsman, but as you said, the situation means he's basically relying on batting with Holder to put up scores. After Holder goes, it's just damage limitation. First things first, I felt he had a good test behind the stumps. Yeah. I know there's been some criticism in past tests, but he was very solid. Got a lot of catches, and so I was impressed with that. And secondly, like you said, the batting, he's still done an adequate job. The first innings, I think he soaked up about 70-odd balls, put in a good shift in the context of the innings. So I don't see any reasons why there should be any calls for De Silva to be out of the team. He's still the best wicketkeeper in the region. I mean, you could argue Ramdin could come in, but because of age, I wouldn't put Ramdin in. So Josh De Silva's still there. We wait to see what happens with Shane Dowrich once he returns to kind of playing more regular cricket on the domestic scene. But for now, no complaints with Josh De Silva, and that's not us being biased.
Anything, Nikhil?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Mash. We have to, when we criticize or when we evaluate, let's look at context. It's very difficult to bat with the low order. You saw yesterday, Joshua Da Silva again in that second inning, shaping up so nicely. But when you have, well, don't get me wrong, Kemar Roach was batting really well around him, and I felt he just, got a decent delivery. But it's very difficult to bat with the lower order batsmen, because after yesterday, they probably won't want me to call them the tail. But no, I definitely think we do have to look at some context. And I think when given the opportunity for Joshua Da Silva to bat with sort of that top order batsman, you do tend to see him a lot more comfortable at the crease. And I just think he's doing well at this stage. He's excellent behind the stumps. And I think he has a very bright future in West Indies cricket.
Indeed. Santoki, did you want to come in earlier on?
No, I was gonna say, Mash, the next part we'll talk about Pakistan innings. We talked over the year about West Indies letting the tail wags, giving tail enders the best day of their lives with the bat. We saw in the second innings, Pakistan 203 all out. Jayden Seales clearing up the tail, 5-wicket haul, youngest West Indian to ever do it, breaking the 71-year record held by Al Valentine. Mash, talk on Seales.
You don't really want me to talk on Seales because I'm going to be pessimistic. Jayden Seales will not be playing Test cricket for the West Indies within 3 years. Because
why do you think that, man? Mash, let me start with. I keep seeing you say this on Twitter. I keep seeing this on Twitter all through my time, and I'm like, why are they saying this? Why do you think he'll commit to red ball? Look at Jason Holder.
Okay, this is my pessimism, Nikhil. So let me just get my little pessimism out the way first, and then we can properly give Jayden his props. In fact, let me start with the props. 5 for 55. What was it? 8 wickets in the match. Brilliant. Now, first thing, actually, I'll come to the pessimism later, actually. Because first things first, actually, let's give credit to Cricket West Indies, because people love to cuss them for everything. But Cricket West Indies, so the selectors, all the backroom staff, identified Jayden early, put him in the camp in New Zealand, put him in the camp in Bangladesh. By the time Jayden made his debut, he'd been in our setup. This wasn't like Alzari Joseph, where he did well on the 19 World Cup. Next thing he knows, he's just opening the bowling for West Indies. Jayden Seales was given what I call a proper transition. You heard Kemar Roach say, I don't know if anyone saw it, but Kemar Roach himself said yesterday in the interview that he noticed from camp in New Zealand that Jayden was a serious prospect. Okay, they didn't rush him into the team. They've been just working on him in the background. So he deserves every single success that's come his way. And I think the other thing that Kemar said, which I thought was quite instructive, I saw you nodding your head, Nikhil, so I'm going to come to you about this part. But Kemar said what stands out about Jayden is at such a young age, he hits his lengths. As I think Kemar said, I couldn't hit lengths like that at the age of 19. Kemar was like, I just had pace. Whereas it's like Jayden at 19 is hitting his lengths consistently. So actually, I'll come to the pessimism in a bit. Let's big up the young man, Nikhil.
Yeah, no, Mash, I've said this story many times. From the time I went to Trinidad in maybe 2-3 years ago, and he was 17 years old, net bowling for the TKR team. He really, I could tell, like, whoa, who's this guy? Because in the nets bowling to the Pollards, the Sunil Narines, the Lendl Simmons, he really was fired up and had them, rushed here and there. So I always knew that, I would end up seeing him, especially after the Under-19 World Cup that he's had. But what I will say is, what's just so flabbergasting to me is the fact that he's only played one first-class game and has been able to come into the test scene like this and be able to learn so quickly and soak up information. It's interesting. I actually interviewed him before he made his test debut in the South Africa series, and all he kept saying was he wanted to learn. He wanted to learn. He wanted to learn from the Rabadas, learn from the Kemar Roaches, learn from the Shannon Gabriels. So I just think, he has the construct to be a world-class test player going forward. I like his hunger. And as you mentioned, the length that he bowls with, he's really fired up all the time. And I love the energy. That's something that in our generation, you don't really get from cricketers these days. Everybody's thinking about, as you said, Mash, the franchise cricket, etc. But Jayden Seales always has told me that he's committed to red ball cricket. He loves playing the test game. He loves playing the longer format of the game. And I hope he has someone like a Kemar Roach, who's now played over 66 test matches, to look to as inspiration for the future.
Santoki, you see that last point that Nikhil said, that he said he loves red ball cricket and this, that, and the other. But here's my point, though, Santoki. Whenever Shafane Rutherford is interviewed, he's like, I love red ball cricket. I spoke to Shimron Hetmeyer. Hetmeyer says he loves red ball cricket. But Santoki, here's my worry. Jayden Seales is 19. You don't think that every single franchise owner around the world was looking at him going, what's this? Another youngster coming off the West Indies production line? And it's pessimistic, I know. But I also think it's realistic, Santoki, to be like, boy, I hope his head doesn't get turned by the dollars that will start coming his way.
Well, first thing on the red ball point, I blame Chris Gale for this because ever since he cussed out Test cricket about 10 years ago, every other cricketer in West Indies has realised they have to say they love red ball cricket in interviews. Otherwise, you're in trouble. But yeah, no, Mash, I agree. I think Jayden Seales is one of those bowlers, even if you're not a massive cricket fan, from the moment you see him bowl, you know he's world class. The fluid movement, the way he carries himself, he's going to be a star for the future in all formats. And that's the key. Once he proves himself in one T20 competition, whether that be CPL later this year, next year, everyone's going to be coming in. IPL, PSL, you name it, probably a big bash as well. And it's hard to resist that money. As much as you love red ball cricket, if the big offers are coming in, you're going to transition and make white ball cricket your priority. And we can't knock anyone for that. But history tells us he will be swayed by white ball cricket going forward, which will be a big loss for West Indies cricket.
We just have to hope that, and I think Jason Holder put in a post today that, and Phil Simmons spoke about it when we spoke to him, Santoki. I think Josh said it as well, in fact, that there is a real unity in this side. So there, you have to hope that the core within this side are committed to learning and going forth together. Because the one thing that West Indies has managed to do with this current Test side is, apart from Jason, they're actually, question marks over Carl Mayers, but apart from Jason, they're basically all red ball players. So we have that as an advantage at this moment in time. But like you say, Santoki, the worry is if Jayden carries this form over. I'm just saying even CPL, because Jayden's playing CPL this year. Let's say he has an amazing tournament for TKR. I'm going to start crying, because I know what comes next.
The only benefit we have for us is Seales has experienced the pinnacle of Test cricket by getting that 5-wicket haul, and he'll know what it feels like. Someone like Pooran hasn't experienced that, so it's easier to get swayed to white ball cricket. But I think Seales knowing how rewarding it was yesterday to get that 5-wicket haul, be part of a run chase, means that he'll always in some way be committed to Test cricket, in my opinion.
My question is, why can't Marshall and Santoki, why can't he do both? Why can't he go and play the T20 franchise leagues and play Test cricket as well? Jason Holder does it.
You're right, you're right, Nikhil, and that's why I put Cledwin's point up. Because at the end of the day, they are assumptions, Cledwin. I'm not going to lie. I think for me and Santoki, Cledwin, it's because we've been burnt so many times now that it's almost like an expectation that this is what happens next. Who would have thought, Cledwin, when Shimron Hetmeyer debuted at 19 for the West Indies, would we think that how many years later is it? 3 or is it 3.5? Whatever. He basically ain't going to play for West Indies in the near future. And who would have thought that would happen?
And what Nikhil said about Holder, if you think about it, when Holder was in the Test side as the captain, he basically sacrificed his T20 career, which he had before playing for IPL franchises. And now that he's not captain, we're seeing him playing more in the IPL and stuff. And he's already said in an interview with ESPN, he doesn't expect his Test career to be that long now that he's getting franchise deals. So it's hard to balance playing all formats, being good at all formats. So I think that's where we're going to see the struggle for Seales.
Yeah, and we should move on. But I was when I was at the hairdressers. You see my style, yeah. But when I was at the hairdressers, we were watching the England game, and this lady said to me, "How much do these players make? The England and India players?" And I said, "Oh, big money." And I think Root was batting at the time. And I said, Joe Root, for example, he's the captain. And I said, his retainer contract for England gives him about 1.2, 1.1 million. And then she was like, what about a West Indian player? And I said, oh, well, Jason Holder's our best player and his contract's about 250,000. That's the financial realities for me. That's the financial realities. A man wants to make his money. You can't see your peers making over 1 million and playing for little West Indies, and you're only making 250k. I get it. Is all I'm saying. Yes. Sorry, my phone's ringing there, so I can't see my scorecard. So then we get to the West Indies. We get to the West Indies chase, 168. and we were 16 for 3. Wickets gone. Powell 4. Powell 4? I think Bonner got a 5. Craig got a 2. And then it was down to Chase and Blackwood to try and recover the innings. And then I think Chase and Blackwood had like a 60-plus partnership. And at one point, we were about 88 for 3. And I thought we were cruising. And we were just going to slowly grind it out. And then, of course, the collapse came. I don't even know how we want to approach this particular story of the collapse. I think the main focus, first and foremost, obviously the top 6 failures again. Mayer's got another duck. But maybe we can give those in the player ratings at the end. Let's focus on the main talking point, Jermaine Blackwood. So I did a video where I defended Jermaine Blackwood the day before the actual final day. I said Jermaine Blackwood is crucial in this side. I got cussed out by enough people. I said the people sending messages going, this guy's too reckless. He's got to hold a drop. Nikhil, the point I kept making the point that I made near the end of that video was I said one of the reasons Jermaine Blackwood is crucial is because Mayers has got it in him as well, but Blackwood's been there, done that. Blackwood is one of the few players in our team that can counter-attack. And I think people forget that in Test cricket, you need players like that. And I called it high risk, high reward if it comes off. If Blackwood doesn't play that innings yesterday, we don't win. It's as simple as that for me. If he doesn't play that innings, if he went in and did what everybody else was doing, which was basically rabbit in the headlights, I better wait to nick this one off, we lose the Test match very early on. But what are you saying? What are you saying, you two? What are you saying about Blackwood?
I think in terms of Blackwood, Mash, he's so important to the West Indies, and I'll say why. Because I think every time it matters most and we need him the most, he produces an innings like that. And what I was most impressed about is when he gave it away in the first innings, you saw his head drop. Like, as soon as he played the shot, he knew straight away. And what I saw in the second innings was a lot more responsibility. He sort of held back a bit. Yes, he played his shots, etc., but he did hold back, especially, going into that interval. He held back in his own and then sort of opened up at the perfect times. I was really happy to see him get runs. I know it's been a tough year for him in Test cricket, after that stellar 2020 that he had. But I was so happy to see, and he always seems to produce runs at Sabina Park as well. His 450 at Sabina, and he now averages over 40 there. So I was expecting him to do well at this venue. And I'm just happy for him because he's a man that puts in a lot of work, and he really has the best interest of the West Indies at heart.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's a misconception around Blackwood being reckless. Counter-attacking in red ball cricket is a skill form in itself. There's a reason why Blackwood doesn't play across T20 leagues across the world, because it's a different set of skills you need against the old red ball. Yesterday, he was very controlled and measured. His strike rate was very high, but it was never reckless. He knew what he was doing. It was very assured, but he knew that we needed someone to take that onus and put the runs on quickly. Otherwise, we would collapse again. So he played a critical innings. Whilst you might say his dismissal was it could have been better, generally his innings saved West Indies at the end of the day. So the fact that there were questions even after his dismissal about why he's in the side means people have a misconception about what Blackwood brings to the side and how valuable he is for that middle order, which has proven to be brittle time and time again.
Yeah, and I think Sumit says West Indies can afford to have one Blackwood in the team. Others need to tighten up, if anything. And I think that's my point. I think my issue is Blackwood's not above criticism, but I just feel like, not that there's others, I don't mean that there's others to criticize, but there's other weaknesses to look at before we should be rushing to look at what Jermaine Blackwood does. Because the reality for me is, at the end of the day, Jermaine Blackwood's average is back up to 31 now. Now, 31 is nothing to write home about. But my point is that Blackwood has played roughly the same amount of tests as the people call to replace him. But he's managed to maintain his average over 30, playing the way he does. So I just don't see why people would call for Blackwood to be dropped before anyone else. But this is the West Indies. We cuss people out if they do well and so on and so forth. It just kind of is what it is. So obviously we kind of spoke at the top about the chase. Kimar Roach, what a knock. 30. guiding the team home when all seemed lost. When I think, like we said at the top, him and Josh, there was 54 needed when they started their partnership, 20 odd when it was Kimar and Jamel, and then 17 or something when it was Kimar and Jayden Seales, and we sealed the victory itself. But rather than kind of go in step from that kind of is what it is. Everybody has, we've kind of spoken that. Let's rush into it. Let's go into it. Across the test match, gentlemen, I'm going to go through each player ratings, please. And I'll always give you the reminder of what they did. So Craig Brathwaite, obviously captain, 97 in the first innings, and I think he got 2 in the second innings. You go first, Santoki.
8.
8.
Go on, Nikhil.
Why so low, Sandoki? The man got 97, captain.
My man got 2 in the second innings, though.
I'll give him a 9 because I guess based off of Santoki's point, not being able to follow up in the second innings. But what I will say is every time I rate Craig Brathwaite, I rate him on his captaincy as well. And I thought he was stellar, attacking again, pat slip cordons and good field placing. So I'm going 9.
Mash.
Do you know what? I'm going to go 9 as well, though, because rightly or wrongly, he's the captain. So when he got a 97, oh yeah, okay, 2 in the second innings. But when you win a test match, you also have to applaud I didn't see anything wrong with the captaincy in terms of using his bowlers at the right times, etc. It was his decision to bat first. It worked out. So I'm going with 9. Kieran Powell.
No, man.
Go first, Sandoki.
We doing minuses or we just...
Yeah, minuses are allowed.
You know what? No, I'm not going to do minus, but I'll give a 0. A solid 0 for me.
0 for me.
I'll give him 1 because he is a West Indies player, but I was bitterly disappointed.
Listen, no rules on this show, man. Zeros are allowed. Right? In Krumabona, Golden Duck, and then I think he got 4 or 5. I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 in the second inning. I'll go first in this one. I will just say the Golden Duck delivery. I'm just remind myself who got him. I swear it was a good delivery, although people say that he was trapped on his crease. And then the second innings one was a shocking. Like the shot was shocking. He got 1 more run than Kieran Powell, so 0.5.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, Mash is giving him that 0.5 because he's a Jamaican. I'm giving him
Well, actually, I'm giving him a 4 because I think y'all are being extremely critical. Hold on, listen, hear me out. People need to realize that Nkrumah Bonner, in the last 2 test matches that he's played, has gone off both times with injury. Obviously being struck in his head, etc. And then that also meant he was not able to play the best games. He was recovering from the concussion, etc. It's very harsh to just come in your first test match in months and do well. Yet that being said, we expected more, but I'm not going to be so critical over him, man. I think he now has to get back into his rhythm, and we'll soon see that the fine player that he is. So I'm going with 4. You can't just be 0 and 9. You have to have some. Where's the middle ground?
It's West Indies. We are 0 and 9. That's how we are.
All I know is Contact just said this man just say 4. Chase. So Chase got 21 in the first innings, and his shot was reckless. I don't know if anyone remembers. I don't know what he was doing. He didn't get any wickets in the match. 0 for 12, none for 12 in the first. Then he got 22. He got a good delivery in the second innings. Actually, I think that was a good one that he nicked off. 21 and a 22, 0 for 12. Sorry, Seaman didn't. No wickets. 3.
It was as.
Oh my goodness.
Mash, you cannot be serious. No.
What? Wait,
I was going to say 6. I was going to say
Mash,
6.
You cannot be serious.
Okay,
hold on.
Wait, 1 second. Because I just seen some comments in the chat saying about his partnerships, and I forgot that. Yes. Actually, let me rephrase this. 4.
No. Hold on. No. This.
The man was part of a 50 and 68 run partnership. Without those, this game would never have. We would never.
Hold on. I need to referee this because according to you two, my man Bonner, who put up 5 runs across the match, and Chase had the same level of performance. Is that what we're saying? Yeah.
Well, I didn't go yet.
I never said 4 for Bonner. You know, I said 0.5 for Bonner. 4 for Chase is what I'm saying.
Go on, Nikhil.
I'm saying 6.5 because I think.
Nah. Wait.
Yeah, I was going to say 6.
Those partnerships were very critical. 50 and 68 took a lot of time up the game, absorbed the pressure. I think he was, and I also like how he bowled those 6 overs at the end of, I think it was day 3 to Fahim and Babar. So I was happy. I mean 6.5 because they're not able to kick on, but I'm going 6.5.
Okay.
What do you say, Santoki?
6.
Okay, do you know what? I'm going to move mine to. Okay, you know what? Good arguments because I forgot that that second in his partnership with, in fact,
Blackwood.
both partnerships they were. Okay, 5. All right, 5. Gosh, man. Gosh.
Why is Mash getting hit? Why is Mash getting pressured by the comments?
Peer pressure.
Who comes 5? Is it Blackwood 5?
Yeah, Blackwood.
So Blackwood 22, and then 55 in the second innings. Because of the context of the second innings, 55, 7.
Yeah, I was going to say 7.
What?
You just gave 6.5. Oh, 8. I thought you were about to say lower. Right, okay.
Yeah,
for sure. That was a crucial innings and the pressure in that second innings. That took guts. I give him an 8.
What did you say, Santoki? Did you say 7 as well?
Yeah, 7.
Oh, yeah, cool. Carl Mayers, duck and duck. Duck and duck. But
bowling.
He got a wicket in the first innings, and more importantly, when we came back on day 4, he was the one who squared up Babar. Babar was the key. He got Babar in the second innings. So in fairness, because of the 2 wickets, he has to get a 3.
Yeah.
Maybe even a 4 because of how important Babar is.
I'm going to 5 because I think he gets 5 for me, full points for the bowling, and he'll be disappointed he wasn't able to follow up with the bat. So maybe 4.5 or 5, anywhere there.
I was gonna say 3, but then I remembered he's the next guest on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast coming out Wednesday in partnership with CPL. So I'll give him a 4.
Yeah, true. Big up that. Jason Holder, 58 in the first. Sorry, let me go again. Sorry. In the first innings, he took 3 for 26 off 15 overs, an economy of 1.67. Then he got a 58 off 108 balls. Second innings, 1 for 36 off 18 overs, economy of 2, and then 16 off 41 balls in the chase at the end. And in fairness, I know some will say he played inside the line for that Hassan Ali delivery, but I just think that was a good delivery as well from Hassan Ali. It's weird with Jason because when he does things like this, so what, 4 wickets in the match at basically an economy under 2 and a 50, we kind of go, yeah, that's just standard for Jason Holder. What am I saying? So what, 4 wickets and a 50 in a low scoring game? Might have to be 8.5, you know, or it's 8 or 8.5.
Yeah, I was going to say 8. 8 was what I had.
9 for me.
Okay.
Cool. Not even going to try and challenge that. Josh, 21, and can't remember what he got in the second. 13. The 21 came off 70 odd balls, and I think that's important to say how many balls it was. The 13 came off 40 balls, and he took 8 catches, one of which was a stunner. If a wicketkeeper is there to also take catches and he takes 8 in the match, don't you kind of have to give them like a? Chatil said 4, you know. Oh my god! Oh god! I was about to jump.
That's mad. Chatil, come on, man.
With 7.
Context. I'm going 7 as well. I'm going 7 as well.
Okay, we all agreed with the 7 then. Chatil's not a fan. Chatil's a Dawich fan then.
Man said 4.
Kemar
Roach, 13 off 21 in the first innings. Obviously, the match winning 30 in the second innings. He took 2 for 47. in Pakistan's first innings, and then he took 3 for 30. So 5 wickets in the match, a match-winning 30, and 14 in the first innings as well. 10.
10 for me.
10, yeah.
Listen, Mash, I just want to say, right? This guy, like, he just never ceases to amaze me. 238 wickets in his career. To pull off a knot like that, and you realize that after he won it for the West Indies, he was just so calm, and he just felt like, you know, he knew he could get it. He knew he could get it done. Everybody was jumping around and stuff, and he just was calm. I think this man is really, when he's gone, it's going to be a massive, massive, massive hole to fill. Not forget the batting, but just what he's been able to, his presence alone in this team as a leader, as a seam, as a frontline seam option, and as a capable order batsman as well. I really am going to miss him, and I hope, as I joke to him all the time, that his Test career has another 5 to 10 years in it.
If we stop playing him away from home, I genuinely think Roach could go for another 3-4 years minimum. If we now start to rotate him sensibly. And then lastly, this one should be easy. Jayden Seales, 3 for 70, 5 for 55, made history. 10.
10. Easy.
10 for me as well. Yeah,
for sure. We don't even need to discuss that. That just is what it is. Everyone who's been in the chat, when this closes in about the next 2 to 3 minutes, do share it on your socials if you've got any. People don't, if people you know don't know about Caribbean Cricket Podcast, let them know. In the description for the video, I've put Nikhil's at as well. Let them know about Nikhil. They should be following Nikhil as well. That doesn't need any explanation. But finally, gentlemen, let's just end it with this. Second test starts in 3 days. Are you making... Oh, Jamel Warrican, sugar. Oh, my God. Jamel Warrican.
Mash, come on, man. You just have no for the Bajans.
I actually forgot.
You're biased, man.
Jamel Warrican, 0.
Oh, come on, guys. Y'all are being
harsh. I have to give him a 3 because he played a part in that epic catch from Rizwan. Without Warrican, we wouldn't have seen that catch from Rizwan. So I give him a 3 for the entertainment.
Why? No way. Listen. Y'all are being extremely harsh. You want to know why? It's not like he had the overs to bowl. He bowled 6-8 overs across the whole game. He can only bowl when the captain gives him the ball. So just for his presence in the team and that crucial boundary that he hit, I'll go for 4.5.
Well, hold on. So Nikhil's giving ratings out here for people just showing up. So if me or Mash just pull up to the next match,
what more could he have done?
I beg you give me 1 out of 10 when I go Sabina.
Santoki, what more could Jamal work on?
Marshall, you forgot. We've got one more rating, man. We've got one more rating. The Jamaican groundsman.
Oh,
the Jamaican groundsman.
Listen, and the thing is, Queen's Park Oval, Providence. I'm sure, Nikhil, you would say Kensington Oval as well, but there's certain grounds what's interesting about the Caribbean is each ground has its own kind of thing. And having watched test matches at Sabina before, the groundsmen, that's just what they do. Like they're just people say that cricket's dead in the Caribbean, but if we think there's a game on, listen, those groundsmen were doing all the commentary throughout the game. So the groundsmen, 10 for the groundsmen, 100%.
And I also thought the pitch was exciting as well. Mash, before you go, I've seen this heated rivalry on Twitter between you and Atif Nawaz, and I can't let you just go without saying that. And what I'm going to do is when I'm editing this video, I'm going to cut up this and send it to you so you can post this as a video. What's your message to him, Mash, after the first thing?
Joe, you should have told me beforehand because then I could get my message right. What we say to Atif? What we say to Atif Santoki? How we cussing him out?
I don't know, man. We're gonna have to think on something, man, because we need to come planned. He come with a musical video last time, so we need to come with it.
All we can do in the interim until we come with our actual proper clapback is just say, Atif, what's the score? It's 1-0. It's
All right, guys. So before we go, before we go, then Mash, Nikhil, any changes for the second test on Friday?
Warrican out. So for me, Warrican out. One change. I think you've convinced me, Santoki, that Powell probably has to get the second test by default. So based on that, Warrican out and it's between Alzari Joseph and Jamal Holder, isn't it? It's about who's bowling better than the Nets. I want to see Alzari Joseph, but I wouldn't mind if it's Jamal Holder.
Nikhil?
I think it's a tough one. I think I need to think on it some more. But what I will say at this stage is I'll go Powell out and Shea Hope in. And I'll also say Warrington out. And I think I would love to see the partnership of Jamal Holder and Jayden Seales together, because the two guys that I think will carry the future of West Indies fast bowling. But I'm going to go Alzari, and I'll say it for one reason, the batting element of things. I think if you have Alzari, he plays the role of what Hassan Ali does for Pakistan, able to give you that 20, 30 runs. That's so crucial. So I'm going to go Alzari.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I just see Warwican out, depending on the pitch, because I don't know if Spin can come into it, we could see Warwican stay or even Cornwall come in. But I think realistically, we'll see Joseph come in just because of the batting. And it depends. I wouldn't mind seeing Jamal Holder either. I think he can do a similar type of job to Joseph. So, but just for the batting, I'd like to see Joseph come in. So yeah, one change for me.
Yeah. So as we come to wrap that, Vitamin, I see your point. Your comment. You said is Brooks in the squad. He is, but it's no one else in the top 6 is getting dropped. They're going to give Bonner and Mayers a go. Blackwood is staying, obviously. Chase is staying. The only potential drop would be Powell. So I don't see how Brooks comes in. But ladies and gents, everyone who's been in the chat, that's been great. Loved it. Like I say, follow the socials at Carib Cricket, at Nick Uttam. You should know that by now. Share it with your friends, and we'll look to do one of these either during the second test, or probably more than likely at the end of the second test as well. But as we said at the top, because it felt so good to say at the start, we'll say it at the end. The West Indies are top of the World Test Championship.
We're here to stay.
Diaries, people. Anything to add, gents, before I wrap this all up?
No, I'm just looking forward to us destroying.
What's the predictions? What's the predictions for this series, guys?
Oh yeah, good point.
We're gonna win.
Let me hear the pessimism come out now.
No, 2-0 West Indies, man. We're coming out of this, man. Top of the table still.
Yeah, screw it. 2-0.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think you'll get a draw at Sabina, so I think
there's definitely no. There's a result. No matter what happens, there's a result happening. So it's either 1-1 or 2-0. There's no other.
Okay, guys. So thank you everyone for joining us. Have a good evening, and yeah, tune in to us on social media. I'm sure there'll be more eventful antics on during the course of the second test. So have a good evening, all. Nikhil, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll speak soon, guys.
Always.
Sweet. Cheers.